Winning Time Season 2, Episode 2 is over, but here on Post Show Recaps, we're just getting started. My name is Grace, but of course, I'm not alone. The Jason is back. Does that work? Jason Reed is here. Jason, how you doing?
I'm good. The Jason is back is good. Reed Magic is here.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it. I'm back. We're before we started, we were getting each other hyped up. We're like, analyze, punt, analyze, talk more. What do you?
That's right.
We were getting each other hyped up to get back in a forum to talk about this show.
That's right.
So we're here, yeah.
Yeah, episode 2, Winning Time. The Magic is back. Obviously, Magic's return to the Lakers. A lot of talk about chemistry at the end of last episode. The chemistry not good, Jason.
No. There should put a question mark on the Magic is back. I think that would be
right.
a fun little impression to put on the title there.
That's right. As always, we're here. We're in the Post Show Recaps feed. We're in the we have a Winning Time feed, postrecaps.com/winning time, in the HBO feed as well. But Jason, what'd you make of episode 2 of Winning Time?
I thought it was good. I thought, we talked about how much the show is speeding up. I think you can feel that here, as I feel like there could have been some things that could have been expounded upon throughout this, the storylines here, especially with like the Norm and Magic feud and more of the kind of Westhead Pat thing. But, we're done with this season. The season is closed. We only took 2 episodes to do it. We dropped a lot of the storylines we were kind of following in the first episode, right? Like no real talk about Magic and Kareem, their beef or their kids. No Cookie in this episode. So we really kind of dished that. We kind of narrowed our focus to more of the chemistry of the team as we focused on that throughout the whole episode.
Yeah, this one was about basketball, Jason.
Yeah,
this is a basketball episode. This is about the end of the 1981 season. Magic Johnson returning. Also, I don't know if the timeline on this works, except that the trade deadline just so happens I have to look into this. I know that this is a real thing. They almost traded Norm Nixon for David Skywalker Thompson. Amazing nickname.
According to the show, this trade deadline was like 2 weeks before the playoffs. It's like See, unless the trade deadline was like at a different time back in the 80s, like that could make sense. But I was a little confused. Typically in February, so whatever. That's fine. But I did quite enjoy this. I do think, I certainly, I would have liked a little bit more from Kareem and some of the stuff that he was talking about last week. Certainly you feel, I think, the absence of Cookie and maybe the Johnsons as well, but I don't mind sort of this felt like really like it's ramping up to something. I feel like that end stinger is so good. Heard it through the grapevine, slow played as Bus is like sitting in his box office suite, lamenting about the loss to the Houston Rockets. That was really good, and it feels like ominous towards what's coming. I feel like, which I think it worked. I really like this episode. Yeah, the end music, the end credits is really haunting as you see Bus kind of contemplating and thinking. Like I'd imagine he's thinking back to Red, what Red was saying in the beginning of the season when he was at like those at the draft or whatever, wherever they were. I'm sure that's playing through his head. And it was a perfect like ending to the basketball season and to this episode.
I might have been thinking like, man, I really wish I was with Honey right now.
Oh, honey.
Yeah. All right. Let me give a quick plot recap and then we'll dive in. We'll chat about the episode. If you're joining us here on YouTube, make sure to leave some comments, questions, feedback. We'll get to them. Save time for the end if we have any. So Magic is back and ready to rejoin a Lakers team that is on a roll. And despite t-shirts and his name in lights, Magic starts the game on the bench. When he's brought in, he can't seem to keep up and the Lakers lose. Norm has had an all-star season with Magic out, but Jerry, and then eventually Pat, eventually Bus, and eventually Magic all think they should sell high on him and bring in David Skywalker Thompson. Pat knows Magic's knee isn't at 100%, but tells Paul to make the trade anyway while he helps Magic get back into shape. When Westhead learns that Magic knew about the trade, he vetoes it and later finds out that Pat knew Magic's knee wasn't at 100%, so the team's chemistry is all out of whack. Meanwhile, Bus reconnects with an old fling, Honey, who has changed her ways from being literally set on fire and thrown in a pool to now running a daycare. Bus tears up as he talks about losing his mom and asks Honey if she wants to stick around.
In round 1 of the NBA Finals, it comes down to Game 3 against the sub-500 Houston Rockets. While Paul lays out Magic's options to get a bucket as the team is down by 1 point with 5 or 15 seconds left, Pat tells Magic he's the guy. Well, he's not tonight as Magic throws up an air ball, and the Lakers become the first championship team to be eliminated in the first round of the playoffs as Bus watches from his box office suite. What's the headline here, Jason?
Headline is chemistry class F-.
That's right.
It was all about chemistry. It was I think the word chemistry was used probably about 150 times in this one episode. So they get an F- for that class.
They loved the like atom thing from last episode. I feel like a singular, but then they were just like, yeah, but not any of that, just chemistry. Let's just talk about chemistry. Yeah,
it's a vague chemistry. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I did like this. I really like, it's interesting is that I feel like Magic's relationship obviously has a relationship with Pat Riley. I mean, they eventually go on. This is the dynasty of the Lakers that we're talking about. But I feel like his relationship with Bus is one that is so much more talked about. But apparently this is what happened in terms of Pat Riley sort of gut checking Magic. I'm like, how's your knee? I did like this conversation. It was like, so what do you at? Like 50%? He's like, no, 90. Okay, 80. And then Pat's like, okay, so 60 at best.
Yeah, it's like a good compromise. Or like, okay, where are we really at? Let's talk this thing through and figure out the real of what's really happening here. So at the end on 60, it's like, okay, well, 60 is not good enough.
Yeah, and so these training montages where Pat's coaching Magic, and the thing that I think I like the most about this episode is I feel like typically I can come on and as I'm like, we're outlining, okay, here's what we're going to talk about. You can kind of like segment off different things. This episode, like Bus doesn't have a ton, Jeannie doesn't have a ton, and it's very separate from everything else. But pretty much everything that's Paul, Pat, Magic, Norm related all ties into each other. I think in a really satisfying way, because so this thing with Pat coaching Magic and this fundamental lesson he's telling him. I love this combo too. I think the writing on this show can be really, really strong when he says, I see a guy, you're the guy who wants the ball all the time. And he's like, but all these people, they want the ball on their, on their home, in their driveway, but when they're in a real game, they don't. And he says, and I was that guy. I didn't want the ball, but I sat and watched that guy a lot. And I think you're one of those guys. And this is the lesson he gives to Magic just before he takes this final air ball shot, which also did happen. Magic airballed the final shot. And Magic said at first that he didn't see that he was going to be able to get to Kareem. And later after watching the tape was like, probably could have got Kareem the ball, which is amazing.
I really like that this episode really is serving to set up Pat Riley, right? Like this is the big Pat Riley episode where he's involved in every story within the basketball team. He's coaching Magic up the way that I think you would imagine a normal coach coaching up a player. And it seems like Paul is more detached and he's more of like the strategist. He's not really involved with the players. That's kind of how it seems to me going through this episode, where Pat's really kind of in the trenches, as Jerry West say, well, Pat's doing all the legwork for Westhead. Westhead is kind of the guy that took over because the real guy, Jack, as Jerry took a header off a Schwinn. So
that was brutal. That was a brutal line.
Great Jerry West episode. Just the way that Jason Clark can get red in the face so easily and just start yelling and screaming and just cursing at the top of his lungs. He does it really great. I loved all his stuff here as he's like the voice of reason trying to be the Westhead until in the end West shares too much. It kind of messes it up. There's too many Jerrys and Wests and Westheads in this show. I get them mixed up.
Pat and Paul and Jerry Buss and Jerry West, Bill. It's too much. Yeah.
Did you feel like this episode was? We've seen a season and one episode. Do you feel like this was a less gimmicky episode?
Definitely. I think we don't get any breaking the fourth wall, right?
We get a little bit where like Chick is like announcing the game and like he's like, all you have to do is like turns to he breaks the fourth wall, turns the game, is like just make an effing shot. Like that's all you have to do.
Right.
So there was that, but not too much.
Yeah.
And then Magic turns to the newspaper and Larry Bird's like, hope that knee holds up. I want to see you in the finals or something like that.
That's right. That's right. So yeah. Oh yeah. Bird in the on the pamphlet while Magic is getting an ice bath. Yeah. Certainly less gimmicky. Very like, I definitely, this was one that I definitely felt they took a ton of liberties with how things probably happened. This unnamed reporter guy who's like,
Boy,
Norm's working.
He's a real nemesis of the Lakers here. He's in all the shit. Like he's really tearing the team down, but just one man destroying. Like
he is, but also he gets to stay late at the forum, and also he's on the plane from Houston to LA, so he's not like he's uninvited. Yeah, because he's the guy who breaks the news to Norm that there are trade rumors, and he is also the guy who breaks the news to Paul that like good work on the trade, and if it had been public, you would have won Coach of the Year, which again I thought was a really great way to use something that we know. Like, so Jack McKinney wins Coach of the Year as he goes on. I think we talked about this last week. He's with the Pacers.
Yeah.
And so he wins, and so Paul is looking at the paper, and this guy is like, yeah, if people had known, like, you vetoed the trade, like that would have been, probably what would have got, you would have won. So
and in one way he's like inflating the ego while not realizing that he is really just uncovering some dirt that Paul didn't know. He's like, oh yeah, it was a really great move for you to keep Norm in order to make sure that Magic's knee was good. Like Paul's like, wait, what are you talking about?
I mean, so it's really interesting because I think that, so I mean, to the point of it being gimmicky, I totally agree. I mean, I definitely feel like they took liberties with I think scenes that happened, right? That all happening on the plane from Houston back to LA. Yeah, I don't know that's.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, we like last episode we had a pair of lips on a cast talking.
That's right.
We had Cookie imagining Magic was there. I feel like they really toned it down this episode and really kind of told more of a straightforward story, which was a really I enjoy the kind of gimmicky stuff, but this was really a good way of telling a straightforward story that did it really well.
I agree. I thought this was a well told episode, as Fisher Protocol in the chat is noting it. Sorry, that would short episode tonight. Sorry, is the comment that's from Ratnick. Fisher Protocol saying, yeah, we went from an hour 12 to 46 minutes. And yeah, it's interesting. Like Josh Leamer is a patron Discord. He's a huge Lakers fan. I know he talked about in the Discord of this is a season that, he was struggling. He could understand why they were going to fast forward through this because there's not much that happens. But I thought they did a really good job in telling the story of why this season was this is sort of the blemish, the biggest blemish probably in this span of seasons that we're going to get, if you're familiar with the early 80s Lakers team. So, but I thought it added a ton. I thought it was a really good character development episode. A great Pat Riley episode. A good basketball episode. So, yeah.
Yeah, it really told the story of their, the mismatched chemistry, why they were so like lost in the sauce in that way. And like as we get like these companion guys from HBO and as we say, like as they say, Bus really blamed the media in this season for the lack of chemistry because of all this stuff getting out in the media and all the infighting it caused between the players. So I think they really represented that well with our one, like, villain media guy that they gave us to really put all the blame on here.
Unnamed media guy. I want to stick on Paul for a second because as we know from last episode and from real life, he will at some point not be the head coach of the Lakers. And I feel like this has been, I don't know how Paul Westhead feels about his portrayal in this show, but I feel like there is pieces of this that are really understandable from Paul's point of view.
I felt more often than not, I was like, is Paul wrong though? Like,
I know.
I don't know. Like, I think I kind of agree with Paul in this one a little bit in a way.
I think the thing that I was trying to keep in mind for myself as I was watching this is Magic has had one amazing season in the NBA, and he had one amazing game in Game 6 of the NBA Finals, and he's been out with an injury all season. And so it's hard, I think, when I'm watching it to think like, Paul, you dummy, you gotta play Magic. He's like, he's like the key to this whole thing. But if you're in Paul's shoes as having, and Norm, I think, sort of articulates this the best. Like, yeah, it's probably a pretty like, silly statement in retrospect now. And maybe you don't make it at the time. I know Bill is like, why would he say this to the press of like, nobody will remember Magic in 15 years. But you think about all the people that would have come into the NBA, any sport, like, yes, there are guys who have come in and like lit the world on fire, and then like they figure you out, or you do get a knee injury or whatever. And so I think the idea, like, it's hard, I think, in a show to create tension. And I actually think the show does it well because we know who Magic will be. And so the idea that we have to live in a universe where like that is still a bit up in the air, even though Bus is like all in on Magic, right? Like, they still want Magic, but like, how do we win right now in this season? I thought they told a pretty compelling story this episode.
Yeah, I mean, as we see the first game that Magic is back, and the Lakers are up convincingly in the first quarter, and everything's going good, and everybody goes, "Come on, Paul, what are you doing? Put Magic in. What's the problem?
Yeah, it tells him
what's your deal?"
Point.
Yeah. I mean, as you see, like everyone in the forum is like chanting for Magic, and it's all about the spectacle that they want to see their player Magic, even though the team is winning. And everyone's like, put Magic in, Paul, put him in. And it's only for the fanfare. And they end up out. They don't really specifically say that they lose the game. I think in real life they actually barely win the game, but really at the end of that game, it really makes it seem like they either lost or didn't win in a fantastic fashion.
I think they do. I think you're right that they might not actually lose the first game that Magic comes back. And actually, one other fun thing is that Jerry Buss is so on the promotion bandwagon. I'm surprised they didn't put this in the show, that Magic was actually going to return on the road, and Jerry Buss pushed this back so that it could be like his first game back is at the Forum. Despite the Magic, the Los Angeles Magic, the Los Angeles Lakers being on such a winning streak, they weren't selling out the Forum, and the Magic comes back and they do sell at the Forum. So, as I say, like, yeah, you don't know what he's going to become. He also is this, enigma of a player that certainly drew a lot of people to the team. Specifically with the team, and we joke about how much they use chemistry. I did really enjoy the scenes we get showing that the team, like Magic is kind of the odd man out here. They're ribbing Cooper, and even a joke that I don't even think was that that funny. Like Nixon says he looks like the bottom of a shoe, and I'm like, okay, whatever. That they love it, and like Nixon is talking, yeah.
Kareem comes in, he's like, they joke about like a bowling ball. He's like, well, yeah, you would have lost a bunch of money if you had thrown all those gutter balls. And everyone's like, oh my God, Kareem, Cap, oh, you're a jokester. I was like, okay, was that funny? I don't think so.
But it's like when you do like it, that is like, when you get into like you're just laughing so hard at the stupidest thing with your friend group because it's not really about the exact joke. It's like you're building off of like something that was funny, and then it's funny because it was funny,
Maybe that was Magic perception that the laughs were so great because like as Magic comes out, he's like, hey, what's so funny, guys? They're like, nothing. Don't worry about it.
Nothing. Don't worry about it. Nixon just made a pretty funny joke. Like,
yeah.
I thought, for as much as I credit the writing, sometimes, maybe this isn't as strong, and it's so over the top of like Magic is getting the massage, his knee, and he's literally separated from the team as they are having fun. But I thought it worked for like, what they're trying to tell us, which is that the team has bonded. Nothing breeds, I think, like camaraderie, like winning. So they're winning, and Magic comes in and he's going to disrupt it.
Yeah, 100%. And the comedy moments in this episode were really good as well. Like as in in that second game on halftime, which who knows if this is really how it happened. Like it seems really kind of like sports movie magic or sports movie like tropes where you have the inspiring halftime moment where like Coop is basically making these two bickering brothers make up, like, now hug, apologize, like. That was sort of such a
apologize and then hug, wasn't it?
Apologize and hug. Yeah. And as Coop like kind of comes out of nowhere, this is like the most you've heard Coop talk, I think maybe in the whole series, where he steps up and makes the guys apologize. That was an interesting moment that wasn't like nobody took Cooper seriously, but then Kareem stood up and made them hug and apologize. I thought that was a really fun and funny moment as well.
Totally agree. I think I definitely thought Coop, he hasn't really been in a ton this season. He definitely gets a couple moments here, like making them hug. I do love that essentially if you do like the timeline on the hug happens at the halftime of game 2, and the plane ride seemingly back to LA is that night, that Nixon and Magic go from hugging and it's the most awkward hug you've ever seen. Yeah. It's literally like Nixon over so short next to Magic,
and their faces are priceless as they're quote unquote hugging. Is like you can tell they don't want any part of that.
So good. To literally being mad at each other, probably an hour into that plane ride. So yeah, that the feel good stuff only lasts for literally half of a basketball game.
Yeah, I feel like also because we're in a shortened season, we don't really see the fallout of that plane ride at all. We go from, straight from that moment into game 3 where, all that, the Magic airball happens. So we don't really even see any of that fallout or how Magic and Norm approach things after that.
Well, I think that's fair. I think also that, we know this team does find success. So, and Norm is on this team moving forward. So I imagine that that will come up, I would imagine, in terms of Norm being as Magic call him, a ball hog, and Magic wanting the spotlight for himself as well, and how to deal with that. I do think the other thing here is there's a little bit of setup here where back to Paul and him vetoing the trade, I guess, is the other big piece. And so him and Pat have this conversation. Jerry West is so confident that they should bring in David Thompson, and Paul wants to think about it. He's not going to make a decision that's going to affect the team this greatly without even seeing David Thompson play. The companion piece told us that there's a wilder story than what they showed in the show. And I would agree that, like, I don't know how you add this in, although I will say, as we said, the episode was short, so let's currently add this in. Apparently Paul Westhead went to a Nuggets game in disguise to try and scout David Thompson. How do you not put Jason Segel in a disguise and send him to Denver?
As you said, how do you not show that? How do you not put that in there just for the comedy of it? To see him like dressing up, to see it like this dumb disguise. It could be like a less than a 5-minute scene. Come on, put it in there. And I thought that's a missed opportunity with Paul. And I think I mentioned this in last episode too. Just the Paul and Jack relationship and rivalry. Just to know that Jack is named Coach of the Year. And to not really just explore that, and we talked about last episode how the Lakers had a game against the Pacers, not to even talk about that. I think there's a real missed opportunity, and maybe because of the shortened filming that we couldn't get the actor that played Jack to come in. But I think that's just a real missed opportunity there.
I mean, yeah, fair enough, but I can't off the top of my head tell you the actor who plays Jack McKinney, so I feel like you're not big enough that you couldn't have got him.
Yeah, like come on.
You have like John C. Reilly, Adrian Brody, Jason Segel in the show. You're telling me the guy who plays Jack McKinney, which is Tracy Letts, who is fair enough. I do now. He is bigger than I give him credit for, but come on, you could have got him. Maybe he had filming conflicts.
Maybe he left the show under not great circumstances. They couldn't get him back. They had to Photoshop his picture in that paper. They couldn't even.
Maybe he had a bike accident.
Yeah. Hey, who knows?
So the other thing here, though, is like Paul and Pat will have this combo about trading for Thompson, and there is the talk about is Magic's knee up for it? Are they getting rid of their depth at point guard by trading away Norm Nixon? And the other piece, though, is this piece about bringing in another superstar, and Paul is so worried about. And Pat rightly says, like, you don't know this guy. You never talked to him once. Like, you don't know that he's egotistical, that he won't do what you need him to do to play in the system, even though he wants to do whatever he wants to do. But this looming threat of sort of, the players,
egos, personalities,
taking over control of the team and getting to do what they want instead of what Paul thinks will work best and getting his attention. I think this has been a good through line through season 1 and season 2 of having to step up in the shadow of Jack leaving. Jack winning coach of the year the first year that Paul is coach for the full year. Sort of feeling like he's not being valued at the level he is, even though he did get a massive contract from Jerry Buss. But nevertheless, I do think this is compelling. We talked earlier about, is Paul right? I think that this isn't, I think, the worst instinct to have, to think that they need to figure out how to make it their team. They talked about last week, right, in terms of everyone taking credit for winning the championship. So I think this was really compelling. And I don't know that Pat fully agrees with Paul. I think Pat kind of believes let your superstars be superstars. But I thought it's an interesting quandrum, and that I can see both sides, and that they both can be right in a way.
Yeah, then in that moment for Paul to find out that Buss, took this trade, possibility to Magic and had Magic kind of give his input, I think for Paul was just like, see, I'm right. You're letting all these egos and personalities take over this team and make them help make decisions. That's not right. So in that moment, he's like, his insecurity bubbles right back up. And he's just chooses to just trash the deal, to veto the deal, because he's so insecure about losing control of the team and being kind of, I think, as he even puts it one time, about, bossed around by his players, the players taking over the team, and he just flips out, cancels the whole thing.
Well, the other one that's interesting though is I love the way this is set up, where he says, we'll make the trade, but can you keep it under wraps until I tell the rest of the team, because it's going to affect the team. And this is where Wes will reveal that Magic knows, basically. And I do feel like this is a valid point as well, that it's a team sport. We know that superstars can really elevate a team in the NBA. And this is basically one of the first super teams of the NBA that we'll get with this Lakers dynasty. But I don't think that's an unfair point to be let me loop in the team. And then it does suck to know that the owner talked to Magic. And I love the line where Wes says, well, Magic talked to the owner. He said, yeah, but I'm the coach, that's the hierarchy, which I don't, I agree with and I don't agree with, which is what I think makes this story really compelling.
Yeah, probably Westhead is already feeling the little kid on the team that nobody really respects. He is the coach, but no one really respects him. And for that moment, as Westhead sees it, for someone to go over his head and talk to one of his players, as he calls his men, my team. He uses that terminology several times throughout the episode, to feel like he's being left out of the loop, to feel like he's being kind of disregarded, is in ways really kind of crashing his ego, and really kind of, even though in his contract he has veto power. So in a way that's a way of giving you some power, but he feels like he's being taken for granted, he's being disrespected, he's being looked over, and and that really just sets him off.
Who comes out of this looking pretty good is Bill. Bill's man, he's the coach.
Yeah, he's a coach. I don't know what to tell you. This guy's voice is so man. Take some get some honey, have some honey and some tea. That does wonders. He's he's the coach. I don't know what you want me to do for you. I was like, oh my God. Are you okay, sir?
Yeah. Fitzy wonders whether our friend Tracy Letts might be in the middle of a theater run when this was filming. So I think that's fair.
You can't come in for a few hours, Tracy Letts. I mean, we don't need you for that long. Damn.
Yeah.
And let the understudy take over for a night. Yeah. Come on down.
Fisher Protocol, I think, is reaffirming my point that Tracy Letts is not as much of an unknown, in that he is married to Carrie Coon. So Tracy Letts, aka Mr. Carrie Coon, which I think does reaffirm my point that he's not. If your wife is more famous, then you probably maybe you should come on Winning Time.
You're not too good for Winning Time, but
yeah.
Come on.
HBO, Carrie Coon, keep it in the fan. Come on. Yeah. All right, let's talk very briefly, I think, about Jeannie, who has one scene. I believe it's right. Yeah. And it is, and part of me was like, God, can't you give Gabby Hoffman the scene with her?
When are we getting our Jeannie Claire moment?
I don't think
Grace, we're still waiting. We need our Jeannie Claire episode.
I don't think ever, Jason, because then I was like, it doesn't make sense that Claire would be the one to be like, do you really want to be in business your whole life? Like, you don't want to do that. I do like this. I like this thing. I mean, we know where Jeannie's future is going in terms of her sticking around with the Lakers, but this thought of like, I guess we get two scenes. Sorry, I forgot about the scene with Johnny where she wants this tennis start. This is not a great look for Jeannie to be like, come on, come back for the tennis championships. And she's like, no, I think I got to rest up. And Johnny is going to like support her in that. His girlfriend Anna, and then they're going to get in a spat. And she's like, come on, do the business. You got to like look out for the business. And she'll have this conversation with her friend where her friend's going to say like, everybody else is doing what they want. Are you doing what you want?
Yeah. This lady who, I'm going to call Claire here because that's what I know her from The Bear. I don't know. I don't know her. I don't even know her character name in this show. I'm just going to call her Claire Bear from The Bear. So yes. That's what I know her from, so I'm going to use that. But yeah, Jeannie. But even the scenes with Jeannie were not very impactful. I thought it really kind of hammered the same thing home that we've been hearing about Jeannie, and didn't really give us anything really new in this episode.
Brennan says this is Molly Gordon from The Bear. Yeah, I mean, Jeannie is like her dad. Cut to a scene where. Should you really be like your dad? Basically, it's like she directed and is the star of Theater Camp, which is I did love that movie.
Yeah, that really enjoyed it.
Yeah, had some Wet Hot American Summer vibes from Theater Camp, but
I remember Molly Gordon from the show Animal Kingdom, where she was like in the first like season.
Okay.
Many people don't know that show. I don't think, but yeah, I enjoyed it. It's the first time I saw her, but yeah.
Well, she's here.
I'm a Molly Gordon fan.
She's here as other woman who works for the Lakers.
Yeah, lady. She was in season 1. I remember that.
Oh, is she one of? Okay, she's one of the like not interny, but like
she was with the other curly haired kid who we saw giving Magic the box of T-shirts or whatever this episode.
Okay, well that's fun that they're around. See what I mean, Tracy? Let's other people stick around for winning time.
Molly Gordon was on The Bear. Okay, she doesn't need this show when she came back.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I presume this is leading to Jeannie wondering whether she should be exactly like her dad, and if she should be doing all this stuff. So that's fine. Hopefully she'll have a scene with Gabby Hoffman, where Gabby Hoffman is like, "It's okay, it's fine. You can work in business and be a woman."
When do you think we'll see any of like the Jeannie Magic kind of relationship or just interactions?
We got very little up, right? In season 1, did we get it? We
got very little. I think when Magic first came
to Los Angeles,
he met up with Jeannie. I think that was really the extent of it. And I know, later in life they'll have a big partnership. I'm just wondering if we're going to get seeds planted, real or not, if it happened in real life or not. I feel like it would be fun to get those, get that interaction in there.
Agreed. Jeannie's stuff is so separate. I know Josh Lemur was also talking about just the portrayal of the sons is a much kinder portrayal than potentially they meant out to be. Whether or not that's coming, but the idea that they were like a little bit more holding on to this idea that the bus empire, as Jerry Buss will call it, was potentially something they were maybe more invested in than the show is making it out to be. But yeah, it's a very separate storyline at the moment.
Yeah.
So we do get this Jerry storyline. They're going to have the 1-year memorial for Jesse Buss at the house. I think this was in the companion guide last week for us, which is this mansion is like I think it's the Pickfair mansion. It's a pretty famous LA mansion that Jesse did sort of dream about living in. So that is kind of, I don't know, I was going to say cool, but like, who am I to relate to a millionaire or billionaire who cares about their dreams? But interesting. So this memorial to Jesse, and then later he'll I do like the scene with Claire. She's like, please spare me the details of this intimate dream you had. He's like, actually, it wasn't sexual at all.
Yeah. So is Jerry like, what is Jerry doing? Is he like trying to like replace his mom in Honey? Like it really felt odd because he's a lot of times he's like, comparing situations, like as he talks about on the beach with his mom when they first came to LA, and he talks about dreaming about being on the beach with Honey, and then he's talking to Honey later, he's like, yeah, you're one of the only people that knew her, so you know, I wanted to get back in touch with you because I want to reminisce about my mom with you. Like, okay, Jerry, a little bit of a complex you got here.
I don't know. I also don't feel good about this woman who's like, yeah, I hit rock bottom when I got set on fire and thrown into a pool, and I'd never been more sober in my life and realized I need to make a change. And then Jerry's like, hey, you want to come hang out with the Lakers? For him, like, this
a bunch of drugs and booze running around.
Yeah, I don't know. This feels real bad, I think, for Honey. I don't know the history of Honey, where she's going to end up, but I don't love that. Like, you know, the last thing we see of them together, he's like, you want to stick around? I want her to be like, no, I think this was good. Thanks for dinner. I'm going to go.
No, I'm good, bro. I'm good. I've heard things about you, so I'm going to go ahead and go now.
Maybe
tempted.
Maybe it works out. Maybe she, you know, maybe it's fine, but I don't feel great about it.
Did you get the feeling that Bus is a little distant from the team in these two episodes here? I mean, he comes in, he watches practice a little bit. Bill tells him, yeah, you know, Westhead's got a real new offense going, so you know, and Bus kind of like repeats that later, but doesn't really seem like he's really invested anymore in what's happening.
Well, last week we get this, the Red Auerbach thing of like, don't get greedy. I noticed like at the end, he seemingly takes off his championship ring. I think like a little like, I'm not the champ at the moment. We just lost. It's so interesting because he has seemed invested in the success of the team, but also does seem like he's like, kind of the boss you might want, which is that he's not micromanaging. There are certain things that he'll put a hard line down. I think like when he has to convince Jerry West that they're going to draft Magic Johnson in the first place, raising the contracts, etc. But it does seem like this didn't go well, and yet there's not really, I think, like a big part that you could like attribute to like Jerry Buss, because that's the only thing being that like Magic went to Buss. Like Buss shared the news with Magic.
Yeah. I wish you would have gotten that scene. I think that would be a really good addition to this episode, is to see Buss and Magic talking about whether or not to trade Norm. I think that would have been a great addition here.
I agree, because apparently they have such a good relationship, and maybe they didn't want to take away from Pat and Magic in this episode, and so just allude to it. But I totally agree that I think you could have it in there, and it would have been really interesting. But yeah, alas, we don't get it. Yeah, it does seem like I imagine. It's so hard because I kind of, we know a little bit about where this is going. And I imagine we come in with Jerry at the beginning of the next episode, kind of unsure. I feel like he's not always the guy who like has the idea of what to do, but wants to like get people like you have to win, like, win or else, basically. So I think that like, we'll see. It does feel like that ending again, it's so good. That's the song choice, the soundtrack choice, to end on Heard It Through the Grapevine, when so much is about this episode is the reporter, the news being leaked and gossip, while they've lost in the first round, the first time a championship team has ever done that. I thought was like really effective, and does lead me to believe that Buss is like, well, we got to fix something.
Yeah, I guess I didn't feel the Buss magic in this episode. It really kind of felt like he was just this kind of like, this guy trying to court a woman. That's what I felt like most of his storyline was about in this episode. He didn't really give us anything special, any flash that John C. Reilly usually gives us as Buss.
He's sad, I was going to say earlier, actually, I forgot to mention this. I feel like with Jason Clarke, you mentioned that we got angry Jerry West, which I agree is really fun, but I feel like we got the best of both Jerry West's episode, which is utterly delighted Jerry West, and then absolutely furious Jerry West.
And just the little itty bitty scenes we get, like in the last episode where like Jerry West is like behind the bleachers or whatever because he can't bear to watch the game. He's like tired of this fucking numbskull. It's so good.
But delighted Jerry West that he found that David Thompson can be traded from the Nuggets, and he's so happy and like tickled. I also love that we got both of those in this episode. Yep. And mostly because Paul Westhead is stealing feeling the joy from Jerry West.
I'm sorry, more Jason Clark goodness. As he pisses off Paul Westhead, like they get into this argument, and Westhead leaves the room. Just the look on Jason Clark's face as Jerry was like, it's like, well, really botched that one.
Yeah, Paul gets pretty mad. Says never say that stuff to me ever again. All right, before we wrap up, we'll take questions if folks have them in the YouTube comments. But do we sort of miss anything, Jason? Is there anything else you want to highlight from this episode that we haven't yet talked about?
No, I think we got most of it. It felt like, as people have said, that the episode felt short. It felt short on plot as well. It felt like really narrowed down to some core concepts, like it's just about the team. It's just this argument between all the teammates. I felt like it was real good. I felt like we didn't get, as I think we said, we didn't get enough Kareem. We didn't really get any real big Kareem moments. So really the show is. I feel like the show for the most part it has an issue with balancing its entire ensemble cast. Like we will go like a whole episode without hearing from people like Kareem. I feel like we need to do better in kind of balancing that stuff out.
Yeah. All right. So Fitzy is asking, do we expect it to keep going roughly a season per episode? This is two episodes for this season, basically, right? Because we get basically until Magic's injury, and then we fast forward to basically the day that he arrives back in the Forum. Doing the math here, I was actually trying to figure out the math here, and this is there's a little bit of, but we're certain that the timeline at the end, or the title card in episode 1 is 84 and not 85, right?
84, yes. So we're doing 4 seasons, right? We're doing 4 seasons in this one season of a show. So this, if we average that out, it would be 2 episodes. If we had 8 episodes, it would be 2 episodes per season.
One season's gonna not get that.
Yeah, so one season would get 1 episode probably. It seems like from the previews for next episode, we're really starting kind of preseason of the next season. So I don't know if we're gonna whiz past this season. We know in real life the outcome of the season. So my guess is no. We'll probably get 2 episodes for this season, but I'm not sure.
Well, so I actually do think so. I mean, God, I feel weird being spoiled, but okay, the Lakers win in 81-82. And I actually wonder, though, is the drama not in the seasons where they don't win, right? So in this dynasty years that they play, I feel like we could get next episode could be an entire season because what's the drama? Obviously the fallout of what happened, but if we then know that the answer is not that it doesn't matter, but they win maybe in spite of it, then but that's that
episode's going to feel so weird. It's going to be so sped up. Like we're just going to get a montage of we're winning, we keep winning, we're still winning. Oh, we won the whole thing. It's going to be in one episode. It's going to feel so odd.
No, I agree. I mean, it's such an interesting choice to just rush through in a shortened season to then rush through, when last season we talked about how interesting the pacing was by doing one season and basically getting through almost the entire season before we even get basketball,
game, yeah.
So yeah, I guess the answer is we don't know. I could definitely see some of these seasons where they win. I could see us much fast forwarding through a lot more of it potentially than seasons where it's not, because what is a drama if not about the conflict? Not that there isn't a big conflict point in the next season, which I think we've kind of alluded to, but
it seems like wherever the Lakers come up against the Celtics, we'll stop and take some time because we know that Larry Bird is a big part of the season. So I think in those moments we can expect to kind of slow down and take some time to really talk about that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. All right. I do think Brennan also says, Jason Segel in glasses, a hat, and a goofy mustache would have been amazing.
So good.
Alas, we don't get it. Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be back next week with another recap of Winning Time. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe, pushrecaps.com/winning time, pushrecaps.com/HBO, or just in the main feed. And we're live on YouTube, youtube.com/postshow recap. So catch us after the episodes. We'll take your questions and feedback. We did get one more Fisher protocol saying, don't know the timeline, but maybe a Bird Magic episode or keeping it all Lakers. I do think we're going to get we know we're going to get a ton of Larry Bird. I don't think we'll like focus in on Bird. I think it is from the Lakers perspective, but I think Bird is going to be a big part of particularly the back half of this season.
Yeah, I think as we're going through the basketball seasons, we'll stop and focus on Larry Bird each season, give him some time each of the seasons.
All right, I got lots of other stuff going on. I'm chatting heels with Stan C. The after party each week. We're doing some Heartstopper coverage. I'm doing that with Matt Scott Foundation. So I got lots going on. You can find me on socials at Hi From Grace or at Go For Grace. Jason, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at JAYR1085. At the moment, it's just this. And it is Special Ops Lioness I'm doing with Sasha Joseph. Over on the Robin's podcast side of things, I am still doing A Perfect Match with Asia Welch. We are on sort of hiatus right now. We did an interview with one of the wives of the season, and there may or may not be something else coming up soon. Keeping that under wraps for right now, but be on the lookout. So until the real season kicks off, that's what we're up to right now over on A Perfect Match. So that's it for me.
Cool. All right. We'll see you next week.
Keep dreaming, keep dribbling.